November 15, 2012 was a big day in China, the day of the 18th National Congress of the Chinese Communist Party, where China's paramount leader was elected. Previous title holder Hu Jintao, a leader of China from 2002, was relinquished of his duties and left the building. The face that runs the place, the champ that runs the camp. The title of General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party was put on the line, and there was only one contender. Displaying an aura of inevitability, as though he had always been destined to lead his country, Xi Jinping took the reins of power and led Chinese people to the century they claimed would be their own. Born in Beijing in the year of the monkey, Xi was raised in privilege, which was quite funky. His father was one of the senior party leaders, director of the propaganda department, as well as veteran of World War II and Chinese Civil War, while his mother worked and practically lived at the Central Party School. He attended the Beijing August First School, which was a boarding school, and he was a boarding student, returning home only on occasional weekends. It suggested that the early separation from his parents must have had an emotional impact on young Xi, leading to his perceived lack of attachment and responsibility towards others. But when he came back home, he had the time of his life. As a child of senior party elites, aka Red Privilege, Xi enjoyed a very pampered existence, growing up with nurses, cooks, and not to mention summer tours to the seaside resorts. But summer is over, and now it's time to go back to school. While most of us spent our school days hanging out with whoever was in our homeroom, Xi's classmates were a little different. These were the offspring of China's most influential people, politicians and military generals, and they knew it. My dad is so cool, he took out 7 Japanese single-handedly, not to mention the fact that he can shut down any dissident with just one phone call. Oh yeah? Well, my dad is so cool, he can make anyone disappear with just one wave of his hand. Pfft, that's nothing. My dad can rewrite history with just one decree. Yep, he decides what information gets released to the public and has complete trust of Chairman Mao. Well, that's cool, but you know what they say about working for Mao Zedong? What? You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself get purged. What? That's impossible. Mao would never do it to my dad. But he did. In 1962, Xi's father was purged from the Communist Party by then-leader of China, Mao Zedong, and his internal security guy, Kang Shang. You see, Mao's treatment of his party peers during this period was brutal. He saw any dissent as a threat to his authority and believed that those who disagreed with him were actively working to undermine his leadership. As a result, he ordered a campaign of persecution against anyone who he saw as a potential threat. Xi's father approved a novel that mentioned a purged revolutionary, and he was accused with trying to rehabilitate him. He was then charged with leading an anti-party group, lost his positions, and was sent to a labor camp in Xi'an. Xi Jinping felt the effects of his father's purge, commenting later that his classmates shunned him. But Mao wasn't done just yet. Feeling frustrated with the slow progress of communism in China, he decided to stir things up by launching the Cultural Revolution, or as he called it, a revolution on a revolution that wasn't revolutionary enough. Try to say that 10 times. He got the ball rolling by encouraging a horde of young people who called themselves the Red Guard to root out any counter-revolutionary elements in society. By counter-revolutionary, he meant everything old, Western, and that has an IQ higher than 100. Countless historical artifacts and statues were destroyed. Museums were ransacked. British Embassy in Beijing burned to the ground. Universities were closed. Teachers and professors were publicly humiliated and sent to the countryside for manual labor. Come on down, we just want to talk. You promise you won't hurt us? Of course not. In fact, I like you. You do? Yes, I like how stupid you are. Xi Jinping, who was 13 at the time when Red Guards attacked college campuses, desired to join the Little Red Guards that had begun to form in middle schools. However, he was not accepted due to his father's status. In the following days, the state intervened again, dispatching Xi and 5,000 Beijing youth to Liangzhi village in Shaanxi province as part of Mao's Down to the Countryside youth program, which aimed at exposing urban youth to the hardships of rural life and cultivate a revolutionary attitude. Xi, who had grown up in a privileged environment in the capital, found it challenging to adapt to the harsh living conditions of Shaanxi. The villagers lived in caves for warmth. The labor was intense and exhausting. Food was scarce, and Xi was once criticized for giving dumplings to stray dogs. But Xi didn't let any of that get him down. He was a born survivor, a master of making the best of a bad situation. He worked by day and read by night. Lenin on War and Peace, Policy by Henry Kissinger, and The Old Man and the Sea. Xi became accustomed to and won favor with the villagers within 3 years, allowing him to join the local Communist Youth League in 1972. This facilitated his applying to become a party member, which he reportedly failed 8 times in a row. I think I'm cursed or something. Well, maybe the universe thinks you're too good for the Communist Party. Ha, that's a good one. But seriously, what am I doing wrong? Well, maybe you're not ruthless enough. You need to crush your enemies and rise to the top. How did you join the party? I was drunk and accidentally set fire to a portrait of Mao Zedong. The next day, officials showed up at my doorstep. I was terrified, so I confessed and said that my ex did that. They offered me membership on the spot. Membership on the spot. I swear, I don't know how a Barbra Streisand record appeared in my house. Good job, She. You helped us fight against the corrupting influence of Western music. Here's your party ticket. Awesome. By the way, Tsinghua University was recently reopened and I need to find one young, hot candidate to enroll. Do you know someone hot and young? Yes, me. Sorry, She, but in order to enter, you have to be a child of a worker, a peasant, or a soldier. And your father. I know, but my father was also a soldier. Plus, he tried to poison his counter-revolutionary teacher. Really? I suppose you qualify then. So there it was. She bid a farewell to his village compatriots and returned by train to Beijing. At Tsinghua, she enrolled in the chemical engineering department. After spending 7 years in rural areas, she had difficulty with math and physics. Instead, he showed greater enthusiasm for history and sports and competed on the track as a runner. But while she was running on a track, China was running into a time of transition, as Mao had kicked the bucket. Purged cadres appealed for their releases and rehabilitations, leading to the release of Xi's parents in 1978. However, the family's reunion was brief. After a bloodless power struggle, Deng Xiaoping became China's new leader and initiated reforms in the economic and political systems. He devolved significant economic authority to provincial and local officials, encouraged foreign investment and trade. By 1984, the government had opened up 14 port cities along China's coast to foreign investment. Within weeks of his return, the elder Xi was then appointed party secretary of Guangdong province, where he was instrumental in starting the special economic zones. Dad, it's so good to finally have you back. Now we can finally spend time together. It's good to be back, son, but duty calls. The party needs me. But listen, son, politics is a fickle game. One moment you're up, the next moment you're down. We live in the greatest country in the world with a rich history and a strong culture. The party is where the power is. If you want to succeed in this country, you need to climb the party ladder. Do what they say and you'll go far. So one day those who double-crossed you will be begging for your help. Now, I'm late for my plane. Bye! So as the elder Xi was running Guangdong and opening it to the world, younger Xi was completing his studies at Tsinghua. He graduated in 1978 and was immediately assigned to be a secretary to Defense Minister Gang Biao. In his new job, Xi traveled abroad for the first time in his life, visiting Eastern Europe and Scandinavia. In 1982, Xi requested a transfer to a local-level assignment after his boss, Gang Biao, was promoted to the Politburo. Xi landed the sweet gig of being deputy party secretary of Jiangding County, which was famous as a cultural site during the Three Kingdoms period. But being deputy party secretary of a county is no easy task. It's like being the second in command of a small kingdom, with all the responsibilities and none of the royal perks. At first, Xi slept in his office on a bed propped up by 2 benches. But after improving the lives of retired military veterans and creating a tourist attraction with an old mansion, Xi got his dream job of party secretary and a shiny new Phoenix bicycle. While Xi was lifting some political weights, China lifted the Iron Curtain. After years of isolation and self-imposed exile, China finally decided to join the global community and started dancing with the West. China wanted to learn agricultural technology. Iowans wanted to sell their crops to the Chinese market, and Xi was sent to Muscatine, Iowa. So you were that Chinese farmer guy that would be staying with us? Yes. Have you ever watched MTV? You see, kiddo, where I'm from, you can't even buy a television unless you have a special permit. So I hope you're grateful that it's so easy for you to watch. Okay. Want to watch Star Wars? Xi had arrived in the heart of Amblin, America. The trip exposed him to more than farming know-how. Xi, who had spent his adolescence in the countryside learning from peasant farmers, was staying in a room brimming with the models of Star Trek's Enterprise, a Star Wars poster, and books on Planet of the Apes. While Xi was initially awestruck by this American way of life, he eventually remembered his father's wise words that the grass is always greener on the other side, except in China where the grass is perfect. After successfully learning agricultural technology and returning home, Xi was transferred in June 1985 to Xiamen, a beautiful coastal city that was also at the forefront of China's coastal development strategy. At this stage of history, China's game of semi-capitalist makeover had a tremendous impact on its citizens. Women and girls began to wear dresses and fake jewelry. Men began to wear Western suits and ties. Hotels opened, imported goods became more widely available, and local newspapers began to carry news other than from the party state. All in all, it was a very heady time in the coastal Chinese cities. Sensing that promoting the foreign investment and creating exporting industries would be an important graph in his resume, she cut his sleeves and began to work. New buildings and infrastructure popped up all over the place, with new road and rail linkages that connected interior mountainous regions with shiny beaches. Xiamen's location, facing the offshore islands of Jinmen and Matsu, which were part of the Republic of China, or as Chinese government call it, Rogue Province of Taiwan, put Xi in a very close and direct communication with the People's Liberation Army garrison. But the garrison wasn't the only thing that Xi was very close to. During this time, Xi met Peng Liyuan. They were introduced through mutual military friends, as Peng was a soldier and singer in the PLA song and dance troupe. Eventually, they did what people with commitment phobia fear the most. They got married. As Xi prepared for a new beginning, so did his country. But was China as willing to commit to a new chapter as Xi was? After Mao's 30-year stagnant reign, Deng's reforms unleashed powerful forces for change in China. The people desired more political freedom, similar to that of Western countries. So they rolled the dice and took to the streets demanding their rights. However, the government was unwilling to relinquish power. Party elders decided to use armed force to end the Tiananmen Square demonstrations, and a 6-week standoff between the government and the public ensued. Following the crackdown, between 1,500 and 2,000 citizens perished and were labeled as counter-revolutionary rebels. Although his father was among the party elders who collectively made the decision to send in the troops, and his wife, Peng Liyuan, following the crackdown, entertained the martial law troops, she remained silent in Fujian, but willing to do whatever the party demanded of him. While the government maintained its tight grip on power, China's economy absolutely boomed. Foreign investment poured in, and the country became the workshop of the world, supplying billions of dollars worth of goods to Walmart and other retailers across the globe. It was like a rocket ship taking off. But with a great economy comes great corruption. Transparency and accountability were about as rare as a unicorn in those days, making it easy for corrupt officials to exploit their positions for personal gain. Given how serious the problem had become within the country, Xi decided to capitalize and crack down on corruption. One notable case was the Yuanhua smuggling case, where a farmer-turned-businessman named Lai Changxing smuggled $6.38 billion worth of products, including luxury cars stolen from Hong Kong, into the province from 1996 to 1999. He even got so rich that he opened a supermarket where everything was free. Lai, you're gonna have to go to jail. Why? You have a whole supermarket where you give stuff away for free. How can you afford to do this? I could answer your question. Or I could offer you a free bag of salt and pepper chips. Are you trying to bribe me with junk food? Of course not. I just thought you might be hungry. Lai, the only thing I'm interested in is power and influence, and unfortunately for you, chips don't quite cut it. But get him, boys. 84 involved individuals were put on trial. Xi Jinping had staked his claim as an anti-corruption politician, and his fight, along with the transformation of Xiamen from a sleepy town to a thriving city, impressed the higher-ups. In 2002, Xi received orders to move to Hangzhou in Xizang province and assume the position of governor of the province. Xizang is a large and populous province with over 90 counties, cities, and districts, and Xi visited 69 of them within his first 9 months. Dude really got around. Xizang benefited much from China's open-door policies, becoming a powerhouse of export industries, but Xi made sure it was pumping out goods faster than a caffeinated heart, everything from toys to personal computers and Christmas decorations. Jiang Zemin, the former leader of China, retired in 2002, but still held significant influence in the upper echelons of Chinese politics. He visited Hangzhou with his wife several times a year for rest and relaxation, and during those trips, Xi personally made sure they were taken care of. This was another key resume builder for Xi Jinping's climb to the top. After nearly 5 years in charge of Xizang, for which he received high marks and national attention, Xi was suddenly shifted to neighboring Shanghai, but it was just an intermediate stepping stone in his advancement to the top. In October of 2007, when the 17th Party Congress convened in Beijing, Xi was suddenly elevated to the center. He became a member of the Politburo, president of the Central Party School, chairman of the Central Leading Group for Party Building, and vice chairman of the Central Leading Group for Taiwan Affairs, all in one fell swoop. The following March 2008, he added key government positions: vice president of the PRC, and in 2010 became a vice chairman of the Central Military Commission. It was thus unmistakably clear that Xi Jinping was now heir apparent to the Chinese Communist throne. When in 2012, Xi Jinping introduced himself to the international media in the Great Hall of the People following the 18th Party Congress, everyone wondered what kind of leader he would be and in which direction he would lead China.